I want to just talk a little bit about saddle cleaning and saddle maintenance, and the basis behind this, what I'm trying to explain to you is, in reality, to save you money so that your saddle doesn't end up in the shop with something broken, something torn, or worse, something breaks on your saddle while you're using it and you end up injured. So we're just going to give you the basics of saddle cleaning and maintenance. Just a plain old American-made, everyday using saddle. Has not been well taken care of at all. It's dirty, it's dusty, it's dry. So what we do is we start out when we clean our saddle. In most cases, a saddle like this is what I would call mildly dirty. We use boot reptile cleaner conditioner. And what that is a foam that foams the dirt out of the cracks of the leather. The side's fairly clean, but you can see some of the dirt starting to drip off. Got some of it. We're going to do it again. We're going to let it set a minute and let that bubble up and foam up. And this is a case where you might want to use a soft bristled brush and bring all that dirt up out of those cracks and crevices, and then take a rag and wipe it back down. That's your first step in your saddle cleaning and maintenance, is just to get the dirt off of it. The second thing I want to talk about, and by far the most important thing, is your stirrup, fenders, and leathers. This is the part that people neglect the most, and it's the most important part of the saddle you need to take care of. So what you do is you go ahead and you clean your fender first with your cleaner, and then you take your saddle apart. Take your stirrup off, take your stirrup keeper off. The first step you would do is you would do what we did up there. You would clean that with your reptile cleaner, or any kind of a good foaming leather cleaner. But here's where most people have problems, and here's how your average saddle owner can really prolong the life of his saddle. Is you pull your saddle so that part of your leather is showing. This is the most common area to break in your saddle, right in here and this leather. So you pull it so it's not all the way apart. Then you use pure neatsfoot oil. Thus, it's a brand new light colored show saddle for your average working saddle. For most of your using saddles, pure neatsfoot oil penetrates the leather better, lasts longer, stays in the leather better, and protects it better than any other kind of oil. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't use other types of oils in the shop, depending on the color of the saddle, what it's going to be used for, those types of things. Now, so we're going to pretend that I've already cleaned this fender, which I haven't. But here's what we need to do, is we take our pure neatsfoot oil, and you can do this lots of ways. I prefer to use a gigantic dauber. And right here's the part where what we call the stirrup leather rides and slides over the tree of the saddle. So this is the part that takes the most wear. The other part that gets dry, gets wear, is right here where the leather is attached to the fender. So we're going to want to oil that. You can see how quick and see how dry that saddle is because it soaked up that oil in no time. Then you're going to want to flip it over. You want to reach inside and get both sides of this really, really oiled well. The best way to do it is to do it, leave it set a day, and come back another day and do it. What oil is doing is going into the pores of the leather and giving them life, giving them moisture, so the leather doesn't dry out, break, crack, get dead, what we call get dead. When leather gets dead, that means it will no longer accept oil. And once it's dead, it's very difficult to bring it back to a safe condition. There are a couple things we do. Sometimes we moisturize it. We spritz it with water or spritz it with rubbing alcohol. Leather is really very porous. It's like a sponge, a very small sponge. It's full of empty holes. And if you put a little water or a little rubbing alcohol on there, let it soak in, it may soften up those pores enough and loosen them up enough so your saddle will take oil. It's just better just to take care of your saddle on a regular basis, then you'll never end up with a saddle with dead leather in it that has to be replaced. You've gotten the key part there that breaks the most often. You pull your saddle back in its normal position. And you've gotten the oil up in there. At that point, then you continue to oil both sides of this leather. You pay particular attention to the back of your fender, and your real danger area is right here where this fender is always against the horse, always absorbing salt, always getting dried out. So this area from here on down, and this little protective cover for the stirrup, and the outside here are the areas that get the most abuse. So that's the areas you have to oil the most frequently. Now we've worked a little bit on the other side of this saddle, and I'm going to show you, we're not done yet. Now this saddle has been freshly cleaned and oiled. What you're seeing here is variances in color. And as this leather absorbs this oil, these variances in color will certainly even out and will lighten some, so your saddle will look closer to new than it does right now. It takes a couple days, but this is lighter up here, it's darker down here. The oil will penetrate and move throughout the leather after you apply it, and your saddle will come back to a pretty darn even color. But the most important thing to remember is get after these fenders, fronts and backs, the part that runs over the tree. This is a saddle tree, and right about here is where your stirrup leather wears on your saddle tree as you ride. So that is the most important part of your stirrup leather to keep in the best shape possible.